So in short, the patch notes are fluff. It didn't actually do anything for you. The Season 5, based on these being the Season 5 patch notes virtually, the test patch notes, will suck as far as adding anything to the game. Diablo 4 lied about what they're going to do with the classes as far as keeping them balanced. And the to-be Druid Paladin needs to be so OP it needs to be nerfed, or you might as well not even add it, because the Druid that we have at the moment needs to be deleted because it sucks. Hello, and so it's been a couple of days with the patch. Now, the patch is good for a few reasons and terrible for most. To explain that, we'll get into it, but the patch notes are pretty much why Season 5 is going to be terrible. So, we'll slightly cover the patch notes again, I'm sure you all know, but just so there's context for the video. Pretty much everything got buffed, damage, all that. There was a couple of nerfs for bugs and stuff, but pretty much nothing really got nerfed. Everything got buffed. Now, this is pretty much everywhere you see either the cooldown's reduced or damage increased. What they didn't add was some of the stuff that they didn't want to add because it would tick people off. They just added it into the game anyway. Now, these things included the pit not dropping the same amount of resources after pit 101. Now, as far as I have gone over, I've gone over the Reddit, the Blizzard forum for Diablo 4, and a couple of other resources. They haven't come out and said that they made a mistake. So, either they did deliberately and they're waiting for people to either get used to it, or they're going to just judge the vibe, and if people aren't overly annoyed at it, they'll keep it. If people arc up and cause a riot, then they'll change it back. It's usually how they do things. They change things in secret, people complain. If not that many people complain, they pretty much keep it. If it really goes bad, they change it back and say, oops, it was a bug. Just like the Mother's Blessing event, everyone got really ticked off that it wasn't going to run concurrently, and they said it was a bug. So they threw it in within like 24, 48 hours of the Goblin event starting. So, why is the patch going to ruin Diablo Season 5? Because if you are aware, they added this patch before the Season 5 testing, because these changes were meant to be in the Season 5 testing when it comes out. They made it sound like it was going to be a bunch of nerfs and people are going to be upset, but they pretty much buffed everything. So that leads me to believe the pit was deliberate, and that's going to pretty much stay unless a big riot starts. But if you remember from other campfire chats and everything, the one thing they keep saying is that they're never going to constantly boost any class. They're going to have a little box, and nothing's going to be above here, nothing's going to be below here. They're going to try to keep it in here. Now, I'll bring up a little graph. So you have this, the top, this is OP, this is sucks, this is where the druid is, This is Barb and Necro. This is Sork and Rogue. Pretty much the Rogue, they need a fix because a lot of the interactions still need tweaking, so it's not buggy. But in general, it is mid-balanced like the Sork. Every now and then, one or two builds slightly come up here, but they need to nerf these two and delete Druid, because what did they do? They buffed everything. So they buffed the Druid, buffed the Rogue and Sork, and buffed the Barb and Necro, which makes it the exact same as before. So pretty much they did nothing. They just made it seem like you were able to do more with your character. They pretty much just lowered the difficulty, increased the damage, and gave you a fake sense of achievement. Because they lowered the difficulty of the pit up to 60, which pretty much if you make 60, you make 61, which is that break tier. So, pretty much they lowered the difficulty, increased the damage, and make you feel better, even though they didn't do anything. It's just damage numbers, really, is all they did. And yeah, like the Barbarian, certainly didn't need any more buffs. Didn't need any more buffs for like the past 12 months. The Druid needs to be deleted because every time they buff something, that includes the Druid, they buff everything else, and the Druid gets left behind, and it's terrible. That's why they've created the 2.0 Druid Paladin in the expansion, which will either be Barbarian OP or Druid sucks. If they put it middle tier, it's going to be just meh. So they can't really do that. They either got to go one extreme to the other. Because if they just put it middle tier and it's like, it's not really worth playing, then what's the point? They got to release it so good that they're going to nerf the hell out of it. Just to sell the character. The Necromancer, it doesn't necessarily need a massive nerf. It needs more ways to sort of be middle. Because pretty much Necromancer has always been either it's OP or it sucks in comparison to being able to complete content. There's always one or two that slightly go up, but it usually works on the actual mechanics of everything. Rogue is... This is probably the first season Rogue isn't OP, because they changed some of the bugs that made it OP. So they need to, instead of buffing the Rogue, they need to fix the interaction between certain things so it's a little more effective without it being that double dipping bugs. And the Sork didn't get buffed the patch before. They finally fixed bugs and stuff which they refused to fix up until now, to do with the Paragon tree and everything. The vulnerability damage wasn't being counted for pretty much any class, and a lot of the top builds, if it worked properly in the Sork, were not working because the Paragon wasn't fixed. Now, it wasn't just this season. It's been a problem for Sorks. They didn't get around fixing it until now, which meant that they were better and pretty much midlined. The odd build went further, but it worked on different things. But yeah, it doesn't necessarily need a buff, it just needed balancing and to not have stuff that didn't work. And yeah, and you can see here health and damage pit reduced up until 60. 61 is the breakpoint where you get the top tier material. After 101, you pretty much are just ego clearing the pit now, because they have reduced the amount of resources you get after 101. And the Tormentor bosses have had their health reduced by 30%. So, which includes blood boils from Tormented Echo of Lilith. So pretty much, drop the difficulty, increase the damage, make you believe like you are super powerful now, because you can do stuff that you couldn't do. No. It's smoke and mirrors, pretty much. Bunch of bug fixes, which then they broke Holy Bottle Elixir by turning the scaling and the minions using the Holy Bolt and everything off, which then broke Holy Bolt. I don't understand how they keep breaking things and everything, but yeah, they broke Holy Bolt, and it was doing what it was not meant to do after the patch, which meant to fix it, not doing what it's meant to do. And yeah, just ask the rogue how they feel about patches breaking things that they shouldn't break after the drunken rogue. So, Season 5, all they're going to do is more of this. They're going to increase your damage, reduce the difficulty, and everything's going to stay the same. Druid needs to be deleted. Barb and Necro need to be brought back down to earth. Sork and Rogue just need to keep getting buffed or their bugs fixed, and then see where they're at after you fix their bugs. If you fix their bugs and the Rogue comes down here, then obviously you need to buff it to get back up. But more than likely it'll stay here. Sork, it was teetering like this. It was generally good because of its armor ability, as in like the flame shield. But it needs to start heading towards this line as these two come back down. The Rogue's generally been the most middle-lined class over the lot, with a few builds double dipping with bugs to make it OP. But that is the patch notes in review after trying some things and getting some info back from the patch. So in short, the patch notes are fluff. It didn't actually do anything for you. The Season 5, based on these being the Season 5 patch notes virtually, the test patch notes, will suck as far as adding anything to the game. Diablo 4 lied about what they're going to do with the classes as far as keeping them balanced. And the to-be Druid Paladin needs to be so OP it needs to be nerfed, or you might as well not even add it, because the Druid that we have at the moment needs to be deleted because it sucks. But let me know what you think, and I'll get to you next time. Goodbye.